Hi guys, this is actually February 23rd. I know I should have gotten this out on the 22nd, but the crazy thing is that I thought the 22nd was a Monday because we had President's Day off, and now I'm all sorts of confused, so I apologize. I am a day behind on my videos, so I guess you can just watch this whenever. Hopefully you're watching it sometime soon. So today we're going to talk about physical spaces and then what your classrooms could look like, and then we're also going to talk about the history of Montana teaching. So let's go back to that one first, the assignment that's due. Right here, we are on Unit 3. So if you do go right down the list here with the video, that's where we're going to find this one. And then the Unit 3 discussion. This right here is going to be a couple questions, not a lot of questions, but just a couple questions. And hopefully we get this done fairly soon, so then that way we can have a good discussions on it. I know because there's only two of us in this class, two of you and then one of me in this class, the discussions are going to be kind of light, but if we could try, that would be great. And then where you're going to get that information from is this right here. So PPT means PowerPoint presentation, and then it's called the History of Montana Teaching Licensures. And you can just go through the PowerPoint. You can do it at your own pace, read whatever you want, and then this information from this PowerPoint is going to give you the information to answer those questions. If it ever pops up for me here. There we go. That took a little longer than it should have, but so this is the PowerPoint presentation, and it's not heavy reading, but it does have a little bit of good information. So Piper, there you go, Garfield County. A lot of this has to do with Jordan because when we were gathering this information, that was the easiest to get. So you would read through that, and then the questions would be like, what surprised you? What did you not know about before? And kind of the differences in you know, how things were and how things are today. So if we go back to here, that is going to be under Unit 3. So the history of the Montana licensure, that's the discussion. Those are the questions that you're going to be answering from this PowerPoint. I noticed that we are having a hard time finishing Unit 2 quiz. It is open, you can do it at any time, but if we let that go too long, then it's going to be harder to get everything done. So please go back and finish Unit 2 quiz, and then also before next week we need to do Unit 3 quiz. And just to add to your to-do list, we also have the midterm interview coming up, and that is due March 4th. So March 4th, I am going to try and do like a hard deadline for that because we did know about that for quite some time. The midterm paper is an interview with a teacher that you've either had in the past or that you have now or that you know of, and we're just going to kind of pick their brain on how their world looks as far as being a teacher. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. Hopefully we can get moving on that. Okay, so today we're going to talk about physical spaces. So if you were in my classroom and we were talking about this together, what I generally do is I give everybody a blank piece of paper and I put like 3 or 4 things on the board that like those are non-negotiables. Like in your classrooms you have to have whiteboards, you have to have seating arrangements, and you have to have technology. So then what you decide about where you're going to put all that stuff is kind of up to you. So I know we've got 2 different kinds of teachers in our class today. We've got maybe some younger I don't know what you were thinking, Sam, maybe like kindergarten through 3rd grade in that area. And then I know Piper, you were thinking a little bit older. So I pulled up 2 different images, and let's just go through these classroom images, and then we're going to walk through it. But like I said, if you were here in class, what we would do is we would have you design your own classroom and figure out if money was not an object and you could have anything in your classroom that you want, you just have those 3 non-negotiables, everything else would be your discretion. Like, what do you want to have in your classroom? And that is always kind of exciting because it's like the dream, like designing your own house or designing your own, you know, vacation or something, but your classroom is truly like a reflection of yourself. So I'm going to make myself smaller here. So what I did is I just Googled images of kindergarten classrooms, and I'm going to post them up here, and I'm going to see what you think. I'm going to get my picture over here. There we go. So if you look at here, I'm going to get my face out of the way here. There are 3 different, or I guess a couple different classrooms right here. And to me, these are super, super cute. Everything has got color coordinated. We've got, you know, the pastel colors. This one, every book is in order. This one is in the rainbow colors. This one has got that beautiful rug. This one has looks like boxes, like it's reading boxes or something, and this one almost looks more like preschool right here. Now, if money was not an object, of course you'd be able to do whatever you wanted with some of these things. And if you notice over here, where we got a couple of things that are popping up, it's not cheap. I mean, like even this little floor mat with the Reading Haven thing here, it's almost $1,200. Like just having an easel is going to cost you about $100. School supplies, you know, right in here, $543. Just a bookshelf is going to cost you $278. So I mean, these things are not cheap. So we are thinking about this as if you had all the money in the world. But even if you did, would this be something that you'd want for your classroom? I've got a couple thoughts on the idea. I think they're super cute. I just don't think they're functional. And if we're going to be talking about teaching, we really have to think about being functional. So first of all, on top of this costing quite a bit of money, how much of this is for you and how much of this is for the student? Probably more for you. And then if we're looking at things, for instance, like this right here, there's a lot of cute things on the board and on the wall. How much of it is going to be used by the student? You know, that kind of depends. I'm all for decorations, but I'm really a bigger fan is if the students can use what's in the classroom for, you know, their reading or their writing or their, you know, math. Like this one right in here, all of these are fractions and numbers. It looks, maybe not fractions, but the number line. We've got words. We've got different information on the cards right here. I'm not sure what they are. It's hard to read. But to me, this seems a little bit more functional than the other ones. Something to think about. I'm going to look at this one now. When you see this picture, what are you thinking? To me, I'm thinking more of a preschool than a kindergarten. But sometimes kindergarten classes can become playrooms if they're all-day kindergarten and you're doing instruction in the morning versus, you know, maybe play in the afternoon or something like that. Although if you ever read any research on free play, it's very important for students to have that chance and that opportunity to do so. So that one might not be so bad. But if we look at the decorations on the walls, there are none on the walls. So there's no reading, there's no print, there's no numbers. And so this makes me feel like a preschool daycare versus kindergarten. Because if it was my kindergarten classroom, I really would think that you need to start putting numbers, letters, dates, calendars type things. And that could be somewhere else in the room too. It's just not showing it. This next one right here, they have tables or, you know, desks made into tables. And when you do this, what we're really, you know, requiring is for students to talk. So if you're going to put tables in groups like this, expect them to talk to each other and work as a group. That's what you're expecting them to do. So if this is what your expectation is, how likely are you going to have a quiet classroom? Probably not, but that's, you know, that's a design feature that you are going to put into your classroom, and if that's something that's useful or something that you want. This one does have actual students on it, and this is what I love about this classroom is that, first of all, every table is working together. We've got kids that have a goal, whatever their goal is. It looks like there's letter strips here, maybe sentence writing, whatever it is, but they're working together and independently at the same time, and it looks like there should be 4 students at the table. And what you should notice about these is this is not cluttered with their pencils, their paper, their markers, or crayons. It's all just work area. So if you set your classroom up like this and you encourage students to work together, be aware that it's going to be a little bit louder than the classrooms that have individual desks. Now this little guy right here, if you notice him, he's not sitting down. It doesn't really seem to bother anybody. That's another thing that you need to think about when you're coming into your classroom is if it's a big deal to you that people or the students are actually sitting down. Sometimes with little guys, it just works better if they don't. So your choice. You make that decision beforehand. This one right here looks like it's got like the tables that work together, but they have one larger chair at each table. Nope, doesn't look like, not in this picture, sorry. But there was one that I was looking at that has one larger chair at each table, and that's for the teacher to jump in and help with all of the teachings. Next one, these tables look a little bit different, but still we've got students working together, and they have this like communal thing in the beginning or the middle of their table for all of their stuff. So that really eliminates the use of desks. So now we're going to switch to English classrooms. All right, we'll see if these ones are a little bit more traditional. So if we look at this one, I'm going to move my screen over here again. In this one, if we look at this one, the desks are in rows. They are straightforward. It's very traditional classroom. And then when we do things like this, we're assuming that the students are coming into your classroom and then leaving your classroom. They're not staying there for the entire day. But what I do want to show you is like the amount of stuff that the teacher has on the walls all look like it's usable things for the students. So that's always a positive. Let's see. This is the one I wanted to show. This could also be a formation of desks if you were in students with a little bit higher grade level, junior high to high school. I don't know if you've been in a classroom that has like a horseshoe or a circle type desks, but how do you feel about it? And if we're having this, we're really going to be encouraging people to talk, because if you are looking at something and you are like talking something and you're having a group discussion, it is really easier when you have this type of setup. There's another setup here where the teacher is in the middle and the students are going to be on the sides with their desks, and so that encourages the students to see each other, so you're not just all focused on the teacher. You can see other students while the teacher still can be at the beginning of the classroom. This one right here, same thing, that the teacher is in the middle and the desks are facing each other, and that really is to start talking about conversations that the students will have. If we have this, like again, the traditional seating, then we're assuming that all the instruction is going to come from you as the teacher, and then all of the students will be looking at you. It kind of depends, like how you want to set up your classroom is going to be totally how you want to teach. Now I love this idea, having like furniture in your classroom and make it more of like a loungy type feel. I did this in kindergarten and it was fabulous until we all got lice. Yes, you heard me, lice. So we had to look at all of my soft surfaces in my classroom, my pillows, my couches, my chairs, because what was happening is that the students had lice set on the soft surfaces of my classroom. The next kid sat on there and they had a wide outbreak of lice. So even though these are fabulous ideas, just use it with a grain of salt. Like you may need to change things up a little bit. So what I did after that, we went to more hard surfaces so they could be disinfected and cleaned a little easier, but I do love this idea. And I think also this comes down to like a management issue. So if you are going to have different desks in your classroom, different seating charts in your classroom, we will look at flexible seating another time in another video, but it's kind of interesting. But whatever you have for your classroom, your management is going to have to back up what you're expecting the students to do on the couches and on the chairs and on those group work type things. So whatever you expect and whatever you have in your teaching methods, that's the way your room should reflect how you want to teach. If you want to be the teacher at the front and you're doing a lot of lecturing, then you have the students all facing you. If you want more group work, then you have little pods in there and you walk from place to place and you expect it to be a little bit louder. If you want a silent classroom, you're going to have to put the students in situations like seating situations where they're not going to have that availability to talk. I have always found students who talk and have a dialogue are way more likely to learn something than just sitting there and listening. And they're going to be participating, and it's going to be a better environment for all. So the idea to think about what your perfect classroom would look like. How would you tailor your instruction to fit your classroom, or your classroom to fit your instruction? And then once you have the students in that certain seating area, what are you expecting of the students? And once you have all those things kind of mulling around in your head, when the time comes to get your own classroom, you will be prepared. All right, so again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I apologize this is a day late. I will be on it next time. See ya.